the first thing you want to do is you want to create a new file. What we're going to do here is we're going to create a fruit store. So you're going to touch fruit-store.js. Fruit-store.js. And what this is going to do is it's going to create a new file in your react-day1 directory called fruit-store.js. Cool? Hit enter. You should see it appear down here somewhere. There it is. I'm going to open up my fruit store. Okay, that text is humongous. I'm going to make it much smaller. Now, in JavaScript, there's a few things you should know. Many of you are pretty familiar with JavaScript or Python or one of those things. So I'm just going to cover as many core concepts and fundamentals in JavaScript as we possibly can in as short a time as we possibly can. The first thing you should know, because you're going to see me do this a lot, is if you want to write comments in JavaScript, which is code that the computer does not run, but appears simply as notes to yourself, you write -- or // excuse me. / create a fruit store. And this is just notes. Human English that we can read. The computer does not run this code, does not interpret it. And so you can write whatever you want on a line where you write //. Now below that, I'm going to create a variable here. There's two different kinds of variables in JavaScript. There's variables that can change and variables that can't change. Variables that can not change are called const. So if I want something in a fruit store that's not going to change is maybe like the name of the fruit store. So I would say const store name is equal to, and then I'm going to use a string here. And I'm going to call my fruit store name Jeff's or Jeff's Fruits. Jeff's Fruits. Now you'll notice here a few things. One, the word const stands for constant. It means a variable that cannot change. These supposed to be together. And I have named my variable. What did I name it? Store name. Store name. And then I set it equal to, I use an assignment operator, the equal sign. And then I use double quotations. And I said Jeff's Fruits. Now the reason why I use double quotations here is because I wanted to use a single quotation apostrophe in there. But it would have been totally valid if I did something like this. Const name equal Jeff's Fruits. That's also fine too. Both of these qualify as strings in JavaScript. And what happens here is when I create this constant, I'm storing whatever is on the right side of the equal sign inside a variable with that name. You can think of it as like a box that stores whatever I want in there whenever I want to. Now the other cool thing about this is I can create variables that do change, that can change. And variables that can change, there's two different ways to do it in JavaScript. But the way that we're going to focus on most is by using the keyword called let. Do you see how const and let have different colors? If you pick up the right syntax highlighter, it's going to give you different colors for your keywords. Your keywords are special words that are reserved in JavaScript for particular functions or activities. In this case, the word let means a variable that can change. So one thing is like, let's go with let money or like revenue, store revenue. How much money has the store made? And what should we start it out with? 0. Cool, I made no money so far. Great job. But I want to be able to change this later, okay? Which is why I'm saying let store revenue equals 0. So later on, I can add more money to that. Let's just say I sold 100 apples for $1 each. I can say something like this. Store revenue plus equals 100. This is doing some math. All this is doing here is it is adding 100 to the variable called store revenue. We do this because this variable can change. Now, if we want to see what's inside those variables, we can use the console. We can say console.log the name of the variable. What's the name of the variable that I want to see? Store revenue. Now, if I do this and I save by hitting Command S or something along those lines, I can actually look at what that variable is by going inside my terminal and running that file. To run a file in JavaScript inside your terminal, you type this. Are you ready? You type in NODE and then the name of the file. What's the name of the file? fruitstore.js. Now this node word right here is a command that allows you to run JavaScript outside of the browser. When I hit enter, what do I see here? 100. All that did is it found my store revenue variable, and it logged it to the console, which is in this case the terminal. So this is how you print out the value of variables or anything like that. Cool?
Can you explain line 8 in a different way that other people may have seen before?
Yes. Another way of writing line 8, thank you, is by doing this. Is by saying, what's that? Yes, it'll also do it if you press the run button. That's also correct. I agree. In Cloud 9 usually, but not in every node environment. That's a good point. You could say store revenue is equal to store revenue plus 100. These two lines right here are the exact same thing. So when I say store revenue equals whatever it used to be plus 100, that's the same thing as saying store revenue plus equals 100. So if I put both of those lines in here, what do I expect this value to be? 200. We save this. We run node fruitstore.js and we get 200. Any questions about what I have done so far? Was anyone not able to make this code work, or did they get any errors? You want us to solve it really quickly. Cool. If you did get an error, no worries. We'll take a look at it. But if you didn't, you should be right on track. Now the next thing we can do is, what if I want to store all of the fruits that I am going to sell? I can say const fruits is equal to, now how would I do this? I could create a string here. I could say apples, bananas, oranges, right? But what's wrong with this? Yes, Mira. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. When you have a list of values, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to write them in a string, or even to do something like this. Const apple equal apples, const banana equals bananas, or like fruit 1 or fruit 2. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Instead, JavaScript has a way of storing a list of items and a list of variables. The way you do that is you say const fruits equals, and you use these square brackets. These square brackets are called arrays. And an array is just a list of items. So give me some fruits. Give me your Mount Rushmore of fruits. What are the 4 best fruits in the world?
Kiwi.
Kiwi? What? Okay, whatever. I'm going to allow that one.
Who hired that guy?
What's that? Yeah, who hired him? What else you got in here? What other fruits are on your Mount Rushmore of fruits? Mangoes, I'm with you. Is mangoes have an E in it?
No.
Just like that? Okay. Just oh, really? I always thought there was an E in there. That's not it? Really? Will someone spell check me on that one?
M-A-N-G-O-S.
Wow. That just looks weird. Okay, whatever.
Wait, no, it says M-A-N-G-O-S.
Ha-ha! All right. It's okay. I usually eat dried mangoes from Costco, so that's the only reason I have that stuck in my head. What else? What are some other great fruits? Peaches, absolutely. What else? Anything else in here I want to use? I want to sell? No one's going to mention strawberries, the best fruit of them all. What else you got in here?
Oh, don't hold back. I know you got one.
Nikki, you don't eat fruits?
Okay, pineapple.
Pineapple, thank you. Pineapples, blueberries. Bananas have to be on there. I guess I'll put apples anyway. What's that? Tomatoes are a fruit?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Is there an E in tomatoes? There's no. It's just there is. Oh man, we're gonna our biggest debates in this course are gonna be on spelling. Cool. Well, okay. For some reason, we're selling tomatoes in our fruit store. Whatever. I don't care. Is there anything else in there that I need to include? Watermelons up there for me. Anyone else? Is that good? There's our fruit store. Now, what do you notice about this array here? Store a list of values in arrays. Each value is separated by what? A comma. Each value is separated by a comma. You see this? Now, the other thing about every single value in here is it's given an order. Every item in an array is given an order. And that order is called its index. And so if I want to access the first item in the array, I can write console.log fruits brackets the index of the very first item in the array. Now this is going to be a little funky for those who haven't seen this before, but does anyone know what the index or position of the first item in the array is? Yes, everyone here kind of knows this already. You might have seen this before. The index works like this, and I'm going to put every single item in the array on a different line so you can see this. This has an index of 0. That's the first item in the array. This next one, 1. This next one, 2. This next one, 3, and so on and so forth. So everything is given a position. And that position, that index, is how you know what order in the array. So if I want to get the first item, I type 0 here. Cool? Now if I save this and I run it in the terminal, what do I see? What should I see appear here? 200 followed by kiwi. Let me know if you did not get that value. Cool? Yes, of course. Now the other thing about arrays is that you can go in here and you can actually change those values the same way. Change the second item in the array. So maybe you were like, you know what? I don't care how anyone thinks mangoes is spelled. I'm spelling it without an E. Cool? So you can go in here and you can actually change that. You can say fruits, brackets, what is the index of the second item in the array? 1. The reason why is because it goes 0, and then it goes 1. And so if I want to change that to mangoes without an E, I would say mangoes, like that. And that will actually go into the array, and it will change the second item in the array to whatever I want it to be. The other thing you can do, oh yes?
I have a question. You said that
Sure.
it's const. You can't change it.
That's correct. We are not reassigning this value to anything new. So fruits is still equal to this array. We are changing the values in the array, and therefore it is okay to use const. You only cannot use const if you are reassigning the variable to a new value, like we did up here. Very, very good question. Now below this, we can also add elements to the end of the array. And to add an element to the end of the array, we use array methods. So give me another fruit that I can add to the end of this array. Cool, we named all the fruits already. Oranges, great. If I want to add a fruit to the end of the array, I'm going to use an array method. If you type dot, you'll see a bunch of methods pop up here inside Cloud9. You see this? Cloud9 has this code completer that'll tell you what you're using. It's one of the things you can do. The one we're going to use, this one right here, dot push. Dot push mutates an array by appending the given elements and returning the new length of the array. So if I write fruits dot push oranges, I should now be able to see that oranges is at the end of the array. So if I console.log the fruits array and I save this, I should see that the fruit oranges is now at the end of the array. So save this and run your code and see if that works. Now if you did this correctly, you'll see that we actually have an array here, and the very last item in the array is now what? Oranges. Also notice that mangoes is spelled differently. because we have changed the first item or the second item in the array to be spelled differently than we did when we first created the array. Now there's one other method, there's like a couple other things I think are really cool to check out. Other array methods that you should look at that we're not going to go into right now. Fruits.pop you should look at. Fruits.shift. Fruits.unshift. Let's say like pairs or something like that. And you could tell me what these do. I'm not even going to tell you because I think it's just cool to just go play around with them. But the other one that I'm going to show you right here is remove an element from the middle of an array or from any location in the array. Does anyone know what the method to do that is? Cool. This is new then. Let me teach you this new thing. If I want to remove, let's say right here, I'm like, you know what? I don't care if you think tomatoes is an array, is a fruit. I'm getting rid of it. I'm not selling tomatoes in my store anymore because everyone has come up to me and said tomatoes are not fruits. Maybe they're wrong, but hey, look, I'm sorry. Don't blame me. Blame those angry tomato people. Those anti-tomato advocacy people, right? And so what we want to do is we want to remove this item from the array right here, tomatoes. To do that, you can use a method called splice. You can say fruits.splice. Now, what are the three arguments that fruits.splice takes? They're right here. Pause. What do you think pause stands for? Position. What's that? Amount. How many things to remove? And new element. Do you want to insert anything in its place? In this case, we're going to remove something at after the 7th position. And we're going to remove one item. If we then console.log fruits, hopefully we will have removed that fruit from our store. Did it work? Did it remove tomatoes? Are you mad? No, you're not mad? Okay, just want to make sure. Did I get that right? Did I get that index correct? I might have messed it up. I don't know. It might be 8. I forgot to look. Let's find out. It's 8. Did I mess that one up? Oh, you're right. I got rid of the one before tomatoes. I got rid of apples. Oh, I even put it right there. It should be 8. I apologize. You want to move the thing at the 8th index. And then, bam. And we should see that tomatoes is no longer being sold in our store. Yes?
What is the 1 for?
The 1 is how many elements to remove. So if you put a 2 there, it'll remove 2 elements from the 8th position onward. Element number 8 and element number 9. With the index of 8 and with the index of 9. Does that make sense? So whatever number you put there, it'll remove an element or elements from the middle of the array. Now these are all nice, and notice how we're using these dot splice, dot push. There's a couple other ones, dot pop, dot unshift, dot shift, or whatever. All of these things are functions that act on an array. Now a function is an input-output mechanism in JavaScript. Functions are input-output systems. What they do is they take in a value and they pump out a value. So if I want to take in, so I'm going to create a function here called, let's just call this one because you guys were trashing it in and out earlier, in, out, cash, register. Cool. It takes in the number of burgers and the number of fries. This is how you create a function in JavaScript. You say the name function, which is a keyword. You give the function a name, and you say what piece of information does it take in. And so maybe the cost of a single burger is $1.75. And a cost of fries is $1.25. How would I calculate, and let's say const for both those because those can't change. How would I calculate the total cost of however many burgers and fries the person orders. Well, what I would do is I would take the number of burgers and multiply it by the cost of a burger. And I would take the number of fries and multiply it by the cost of fries. So we define a function right here. Define a function. And then below it, you can call the function. You could say, let total cost equal in and out cash register. And let's say I'm ordering 4 burgers and 3 fries. This is how I would pass values to those arguments in the function. The 3 would be passed into fries, and the 4 would be passed into burgers.
Can you just put the return line?
Yes.
And then let them see if they can code it?
Great point. So I want you to fill in right here what I would return, which is the output for the function. And I want you to write the calculations here for how to calculate the number of burgers and the number of fries. Just console.log at the bottom, total cost,
Cool.
and see what you get. See if you can complete this function. If you can complete this function, you should also try and do another one that calculates the cash register for num patties and num cheeses. Because in and out, you can have a 4x4 or a 3x3, unlike a Shake Shack, which just lodges you into their antiquated system. But I won't go into it for now. You can figure that out. So give it a shot. We'll come back in a second. Let's say the cheese cost, or I say patty cost, is equal to 135, and the cheese cost I think equal to 55 cents. And what I want you to do is calculate the cost of burger of a 4x4, of a 4x3, 4 patties and 3 cheeses. Calculate the tax. Calculate the total cost. Return the total cost at the bottom. Cool? Sorry, this is the function I want you to use. I want you to complete this one. Does that make sense? All I'm doing is I'm making it a bit more complex, and that this is what a cash register would actually do. This corresponds to this, only that they're using the same logic. But in this case, you're now calculating the tax, which I think is 0.08%, or it's an 8% tax in California. Cool? Does that make sense? Yep. Exactly. Yep. Same thing. Do it on here. 4x3. Cash register. Do it again. And let final cost, something like that. Let's give it a shot, see how you do. First, does anyone want to help me finish this cash register function? If I have the number of patties, and by the way, what I'm talking about here, if you've never been in and out, if you go to in, out, 4x4, you can look at the glorious majesty that is an in and out 4x4. 4 cheeses, 4 patties, and you pay by the number of patties and the number of cheeses. It's an amazing concoction of magic and glory.
What's the life expectancy of someone?
The life expectancy is negative 4x4. For every 4x4 you eat, you lose 4x4 of your lives. Now, in this case, if we're given the number of patties, I want 4 patties. Let's just say I only want 3 cheeses, just to make this irregularly shaped. What is the next thing I would do down here? How would I calculate the cost of the 4x3? Someone help me out here. Great. Total cost is equal to, and what am I multiplying first? Cool, patty cost times the number of patties plus, let's say, cheese cost times the number of cheeses. Cool. And this, let's just call this subtotal. The reason I call it subtotal is because it's before we've done taxes. And now, to add taxes onto it, 8% tax in California, what would I write next?
Subtotal times equals 1.08.
Cool. So we can say const, well, yeah, we can do this a couple ways. You can do it in 2 steps or in just a single step. If you want to do it in a single step, you can say const total cost is equal to subtotal times, what did you say?
1.08.
1.08. So 100% of itself plus an extra 8% for tax. And then return the total cost. And you should see that value should work. And we can do the same thing up here, by the way, if you didn't finish this one. Cost of burger times burgers plus cost of fries times fries. We can get values for all of these. Now, if you look at this, we should get cool 4x3 for $7.61. And for my bad In-N-Out store for $10.75 for 4 burgers and 3 fries. So this is like the simple fundamentals of JavaScript. But when you get into more abstract data structures, things start to get a little bit different. And so one of those data structures that we'll use all the time in JavaScript are called objects. Objects are a data structure where we organize information according to a label. So arrays organize information according to an order, a specific order, whereas objects organize information according to a specific label. So if I want to make my actual fruit store, I can say const fruit store is equal to, and I'm going to make an object here. An object you just do by using open and close squiggly brackets. And so in an object, you have an open and closed squiggly brackets like this. And then inside there, you give each label is known as a key in JavaScript. And then the value is what you attach to that label. So there's a key and then a value for each piece of information in a JavaScript object. Now in this case, we need some information about my fruit store. What's the kind of stuff I want to have information about my fruit store?
Address.
An address, cool. Let's call it 123 Fake Street. What else? What are the information I need about my fruit store? Phone number. Okay, let's call it 123 456 7890. You said hours. Cool. What else? What did I put in here? Let's say it's open from 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. My fruit store is always hustling. What else? Let's say revenue, and set it equal to 0. Put some other piece of information there. You can throw some stuff in there. What do you think our store needs to include?
Products.
Products. You probably need inventory. Now, how do you want to store the inventory? Let's use a list for now. But there's other ways to do this. And you can put whatever inventory you want in your own fruit store. It probably needs a name. You should name your fruit store Fruity McFruit Store. Anything else a fruit store needs? That seems pretty cool. What is it? If I walk in this fruit store, what do I not know? I don't know what inventory you have, because right now you haven't put anything in there. But if I put some stuff in there, if I just copy and paste that list we had before, and I call that my inventory, there's something wrong with this inventory. Can anyone tell me what it is? I mean, it's not wrong, but it's going to be a little confusing if someone walks into our store. What are they going to be confused about? Okay, definitely. I think they'll see that and they'll see, but they actually won't see the quotation marks if we print it out.
No prices.
There's no prices. How do we know what everything costs? How much does a kiwi cost? How many kiwis do we have in our store? Uh-oh. That's a little tough. So we're going to have to figure out a way to do that, huh? We're going to have to store the number of items and how much each kiwi costs as well. The number of mangoes and how much each mango costs as well. And so we're going to have to restructure this a little bit. But before we do that, let's look at a little bit about how objects work. And I think this will make a little more sense once you figure out how objects work. So I'm just going to delete 3 of these. I'm just going to keep only these 4 here for now. Kiwis, mangoes, peaches, and strawberries, just so it's a little easier to see. Now, if I want to access an item in an object, access a value in an object, what I do is I say the name of the object, fruit store, and then I use dot notation. Now look at all of this syntax highlighting over here. You see this? It'll tell you. We can say fruit store dot address, fruit store dot hours, fruit store dot inventory, fruit store dot name, dot phone number, dot revenue. If you want to access the total revenue the fruit store has made, you would say fruit store dot revenue. If you want to access the hours the fruit store is open, you would say fruit store dot. Anyone? Hours. And this is how you access values in an object. This is why objects are really useful. Now, what if I want to get the 3rd item in my inventory? Does anyone want to take a guess on how to do that? Access nested value in an object. How do I access a nested value in my inventory object?
Fruit store dot inventory and square brackets. And then you said third.
Yep.
So 2.
Now, this is where things get a little more interesting. You're absolutely correct. What we've done here is we have created this fruit store. In there, we have a key with an inventory of items. And in that inventory, we have the 3rd item, which is what? Strawberries. Now, in this case, actually, no, sorry. 3rd item is peaches. My apologies. It's peaches. So when we say fruit store.inventory, that is going to get whatever value is stored according to that label, which in this case is an array of values. When we say 2 in there, it then goes into that array of values and gets the 3rd item, which happens to be peaches. If I console.log this, I should see peaches as my 3rd item. And I see peaches at the bottom. Now, when you do this, when you start accessing nested data structures, this is where things get really complicated. And so you'll see this pop up again and again and again. It will be a little confusing the first couple times you do it, and then you get used to it, and it'll be cake. Now, the last thing I want to show you, well, the last thing I want you to do right now is I want you to add some inventory for your fruit store. Instead of just saying the word kiwi, we're going to create an object for each thing and say name kiwi, amount 4, price $1.99. And I want you to make an object for each of these specific fruits. So go ahead and do that right now. Give each fruit an object inside the inventory. Give it a name, an amount, and a price. Kiwi's at $1.99, you crazy, but we're doing it anyway. Is how to do loops. And so looping in JavaScript can be done a couple ways. There's some really good ones that we're going to go over in labs. Looping in JavaScript involves things. You can either use for loops, for each loops, map, filter, reduce. They're all useful ways to do looping. Each one serves their own purpose. We're only going to talk about one right now, but during the React course, you'll see us use these a lot. Map and filter are really useful in React, and so you use them quite a bit. But for now, let's just go over the for each loop. If I wanted to print out the total number of fruits, print out the total number of fruits in the fruit store. Oops, I cannot spell at all. Right now, I would have to give each fruit a object representation of itself. So it would be kiwis, mangoes, apples, strawberries. I don't even remember what the last one was. Oranges, we're going to make it now. This one has 1. This one has 20. This one has 14. This one has 99. Each strawberry costs $4, $5. Each apple costs 99 cents. Each mango costs $1.50. And each orange also costs 99 cents. And so what we can do is we can go in and loop over every single one of the fruits and see exactly how much of each one we have right here. And so an easy way to do that is to start by saying let total fruits equal 0 and then loop over each fruit. To loop over each fruit, we would select the inventory from our fruit object. So we would say fruit store dot inventory, and that would give us this array of fruits. Cool with that so far? We would say fruit store dot inventory dot for each, and this takes a function. So a fast way to write a function, you could write it like this, function fruit. For each fruit, we'll say total fruits is plus equal to, or is equal to total fruits plus fruit dot amount. Now where am I getting fruit dot amount from? Well, if you go back to your fruit store inventory, it is a list of objects, and each object has 3 keys in it: name, amount, and price. So when we say fruit, we're naming each one of these the variable fruit. And then when we say fruit.name, it'll give us mangoes. Fruit.amount, it'll give us 1. Fruit.price, it would give us $1.50. So we loop through each object and we say total fruits plus equal to fruit.amount. And when I console.log total fruits, I should get 138 total fruits. And the reason why this happens is because it loops over every item in the inventory and it adds their amounts to this variable called total fruits. The for each loop is really useful. You'll see people use this a lot. For each item, we do something. So for each fruit in the inventory list, add the amount of fruits to the total fruits number. Now, if any of this is over your head, do not worry, don't be afraid, don't freak out. That was so much stuff in a short period of time. It's honestly, if you didn't get half of that, it's going to be very okay. You're going to be all right. If you understood functions even a little bit, that's going to be enough to write some React today. Is that cool with everybody?
Can I just jump in and say one part?
Yeah.
What he said was the most important part. He just threw a ton of stuff at you. And he, by the way, I've watched a whole bunch of his videos. He does this, and then at first everyone's confused, and then everyone understands everything eventually. So
Yep.
just don't panic. That's the important thing. But to me, the confusing part is, I was like, yeah, I know what the fruit store is, right? That was that object. And I know what inventory. And okay, that makes sense. There's all these things in that inventory. Let's go through them one for one. All right, here's a little function we're going to just define here. But then all of a sudden there's this word fruit. And there is no such thing, fruit, in my, if he scrolls back up. It's not there.
Yeah.
So where'd that come from?
Where is that coming from? And that's a really good question. This for each loop, when it takes a function, the for each loop says, hey, for each thing in this array, whatever it is, give it a variable name. What variable name did we give each thing? The variable name fruit. So the first thing it does is it comes here and it names this fruit. And then it gets fruit.amount, and that's 4. Then the next time it names this fruit, and it finds the fruit.amount, and that is equal to 1. Then it comes here, it says fruit, names this fruit. And it does this for every single item. For each item in the array, name that item, whatever variable you call it, and then do something to it. And so this is something you'll see used all the time. There's actually an even shorter way of writing this that you'll see a lot. You'll see something like this. You'll see fruit store dot inventory dot for each, and then people will just write the variable name right there and use this fat arrow like that. That is another way of writing a function that is shorter than writing the word function and then in parentheses fruit.
So if he changed the word fruit to Jeff,
So if I change this to Jeff, then I would
then
also want to change
what
that.
do you guys think would happen?
Would it matter?
You can vote.
Would it matter if I call whatever I call that? Let's find out. Let's run it again and see what happens. Nope, I still get 138. Interesting. Because it doesn't matter what you name this variable here. That variable is just whatever you want to call this at the moment. That variable is whatever you call this, we give it a name. We're storing this, and it's the same thing as saying Jeff is equal to this. Let Jeff equal this. And then it comes down here, then it says let Jeff equal this. But the first time I did this, I called it fruit, so let fruit equal that. Then it says, hey, let fruit equal that. Then it says let fruit equal that. And that's all the for each loop does, is it says for each item in the array, save it as the variable fruit, and then do something with it. And so you'll see this used all the time. Now the way you'll see this used is in React. And React uses JavaScript to create applications on your front end. And so that is what we're going to do next, is we're actually going to start building a React app. But first, go ahead and take a quick little break. Probably want to grab some water, go to the bathroom if you need to, because when you come back, we're going to start our first React app. Is that cool with y'all? Amazing.